Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this program entitled, What Does Water Mean to Me? Valuing and Safeguarding Water Resources, organized today to celebrate World Water Day 2021. Thank you all for joining. I am Arun Shrestha, the host for this program, and I am Regional Program Manager at ICIMOD for River Basins and Crash Test Program. First of all, I would like to inform you that this meeting is being recorded to take notes of this meeting discussions. As we all know, the theme of World Water Day this year is valuing water. And the theme is definitely not only about the economic value or price of water. It goes much more beyond it. The significance of water is interlinked between households, culture, health, education, economics, and the integrity of our natural environment. Everyone sees water, the value of water differently. They use water differently, and their need for water can be very different. So in today's program, the focus is to show how different people and sectors value water differently. And this program intends to highlight that appreciating those differences is important for safeguarding water resources. Now, you have all seen the agenda already. We have very interesting agenda for 90 minutes to follow. But before starting the program, I would like to request everyone, dear participants, to turn off your camera and turn it on only when you are speaking. And also to my fellow colleagues here at ICIMOD, also keep your microphone and speakers off. So with that, I would like to start the program of today. And it's my pleasure to request Dr. Pema Jamso, Director General, ICIMOD, to deliver opening remarks.
Good afternoon from Kathmandu, and perhaps good morning or good evening to some of you. I wish you all a happy World Water Day. It is indeed a great honor for me to join all of you here to celebrate the World Water Day 2021. The theme for World Water Day 2021, Valuing Water, is a way to appreciate the diverse uses of water and how water means different things to different people and sectors. Water gives and water takes lives and properties. Water creates and water destroys. Water is a savior and water is also a killer. Both too little water and too much water are becoming serious concerns across the globe, and more so in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region. Therefore, I find this theme very timely for the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, as it urges us to pause and reflect on the process and pace with which the region is pursuing development. It is an opportunity for us to assess the value of water and how the benefits of developing water resources can be more equitably distributed. The HKH region is well endowed with natural resources, including water. It has the largest ice body outside of the two poles, and hence it is often referred to as the third pole or the water towers of Asia. The region receives atmospheric water from the monsoon rains and westerly disturbances, which nourishes its snow fields and glaciers, its lakes, natural wetlands, and underground aquifers. This in turn work as huge natural reservoirs, providing the source waters to 10 major rivers descending from the mountains to the plains of South and Southeast Asia even. Therefore, the pulse beats of Asian societies is determined and regulated to a large extent by the pattern and the amount of rainfall and melt water from glaciers and snows that feed the rivers and streams. The Hindu Kush Himalayan river basins provide drinking water, irrigation for agriculture, hydropower, fishery, and inland navigation, and industries that support the lives and livelihoods of more than 1.9 billion people living in the mountains and downstream areas. But these river basins are facing increasing stress due to change in weather patterns and unpredictable and unreliable rainfall and snowfall events. Already, access to water in the region is a major concern, with some projections showing that the region will require an additional 30 to 50% of water in the next few decades, and that water demand in the agriculture sector could rise by up to 80% by the year 2050. Additionally, climate change is likely to alter seasonal variability in the flow of water in the HKH, thus further aggravating the problem of too much or too little water in the region. All the countries in the Hindu Kush Himalayas, irrespective of size, face the daunting task of meeting these water demands of a growing and wealthier population. There are high chances that inequalities in general and unequal benefits from water resources development could increase in the future, leading to conflicts. It is indeed an irony that both too little water and too much water favor the strong and wealthy. When there is too little water, the poor suffers from lack of access to adequate water. And when there is too much water, the poor are most vulnerable to disasters. Hence, this program that we are organizing today must inspire us to discuss these issues and highlight how people from various socioeconomic backgrounds view water, its uses and values, and learn about water-related challenges faced by the people on a daily basis. The discussions will provide us the basis to argue for the need to balance development and conservation efforts while considering the interests of multiple stakeholders. To conclude, let me reiterate, water is absolutely necessary for our survival. But water is also dangerous and threatens our survival. We must learn to manage water in all its different forms and dimensions. Let us look at celebrating what it gives, but be mindful of what it takes. ICIMOD must give highest priority to address the challenges posed by water scarcity and water-related disasters. Whether we talk about climate change impacts or recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, water lies at the center of any solution. Finally, let me thank all of you for joining us today from across the HKH and beyond. And I also like to take this opportunity to congratulate my colleagues, Dr. Arun Shastra, and all of you involved in organizing and hosting this important event. Thank you, and I wish you a successful deliberation.
Thank you, Dr. Jamsu, for your opening remarks. And I think that very nicely sets the scene for today's program, particularly highlighting the meaning of the theme, the valuing water, and what it means for the Hindu Kush Himalayas, and what are the risks because of climate and other challenges on this, and how it is important to work on this to, for example, protecting the pulse of the planet. Thank you so much. Now, moving on with our program, we have a very interesting panel discussion lined up after this. And this will be moderated by my colleague, Dr. Miriam Jackson, who is Program Coordinator for Cryosphere Initiative at ICIMOD. So to take this panel discussion forward, I'm requesting Dr. Jackson to take the floor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our panel discussion for World Water Day event. And we're looking at the topic, what does water mean to me? Evaluating and safeguarding water resources. It's a pleasure to be your host today, and I very much look forward to our discussion. I'm going to introduce our panelists soon, but first a few reminders. So for our panelists, when you're speaking, please turn on your camera so we can see you, and then turn it up at other times. Also, when you're speaking, remember to unmute so we can hear you, but then when you finish speaking, please mute your microphone again. We also invite all the attendees here to send in any questions you have for our panelists. So please, if you have questions that are relevant to the webinar, to this topic, please send them in by writing them in the chat box. So put in your name and affiliation and your question. And if it's to a particular panelist, please put down the name of the panelist as well. For the panelist, we'd like to get through as much as possible, so please keep your answers quite short, 1 or maximum of 2 minutes per answer. It's my pleasure now to introduce the panelists that we have with us today. So we've invited people to give us different perspectives. And first, to give us a practitioner's perspective, we have Manohara Katka, who is a country representative from Nepal for the International Water Management Institute. Dr. Katka brings over 2 decades research and programs implementation experience in the water and natural resources sector. Her areas of expertise include policy and governance analysis, water resource management, gender and social inclusion, and livelihoods analysis in the natural resources. And then looking at the transboundary perspective, we have Jyoti Rajpatra, who's program manager for Transboundary Rivers of South Asia. This is a regional water governance project working in the GBM and Salween basins. His areas of interest are on science policy practice interface and evidence-informed policy making on cross-cutting issues of water, climate, and human rights. He's also previously worked on these issues at the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office and the International Development Research Centre. We're also very lucky to have the community perspective given to us by Mr. Rehan Shah, who is the president of the Gulkeen Village Organisation in Gilgit-Baltistan in Pakistan. Mr. Rehan graduated from Karachi University in Mass Communication and has been working in the media sector for almost 15 years. He is also an active political worker and has contested the last elections of Gilgit-Baltistan Assembly. Additionally, he is a community worker, a volunteer and a youth activist. Representing the private sector, we have Ms. Irena Guerin, for Country Public Affairs, Communications and Sustainability Manager at Bottlers Nepal Limited, while the authorised bottler for Coca-Cola Company Limited in Nepal. Irena joined Bottlers Nepal Limited in 2014 and has been a key member in setting up the foundation of the public affairs, communications and sustainability function in Nepal. She oversees the responsibility of driving across Nepal the various aspects of these verticals, including internal and external stakeholder management, government and industry liaison, and CSR and sustainability projects. Finally, giving us a government perspective, we have Dr. Mohammed Wasim Iqbal, who is at the Afghanistan National Water and Environmental Research Centre, which is under the Ministry of Higher Education of Afghanistan. Dr. Iqbal obtained his doctorate in water engineering and management from Kazakh University in Thailand in 2018. His doctorate focused on climate change impacts and drought analysis and forecasting for agricultural water management. Parallel to his doctoral studies, he was also honoured with a 2-year research fellowship at the University of Central Asia. I'd like to start with Dr. Katka, who is a country representative for International Water Management Institute. Dr. Katka, hello. What does water mean? Hello, thank you for agreeing to be a panelist. I'd like to know, can you tell us what does water mean to you?
Okay, thank you, Miriam. Hi, everyone. Namaste, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's my really pleasure to be with you today's session. Yes, for me, water is life. What can we talk about without water? Water is a source, a means to sustain our livelihood, our whole health system, food production, processing, marketing, use system really depend on water. And also our socio-cultural system from our birth to death, economic, livelihood activity, everyday activity, and also ecosystem, natural resource landscape in the system where we are living depend on water. Water is also source of basic livelihood of those people who are really affected because of different driver and also changes because of poverty, because of marginalization. For them, water is a key sources, but we are yet to acknowledge these issues. Another dimension, water is really tangible. It provides tangible, intangible benefit and also intrinsic value on which our system, both natural, human system, exist and also survive. So for me, the valuing water has to go beyond the monetary value. We have to really think water valuation from socioeconomic, cultural, environmental, and people livelihood, and also from the people, those people who are really depend on water resources for their livelihood. So that's it for the short contribution.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like now to move on to the transboundary perspective. Raj, hello. Could you tell us what water means to you personally, and also in the transboundary perspective that you're working in?
Hi, Miriam. Thank you, and thank you, ICIMOD and colleagues, for this wonderful opportunity. To start with, water to me is the most critical natural resource, which my previous panelist already highlighted, which sustains and nurtures life. Most importantly, it connects people and communities across political boundaries and ideologies. It provides opportunities for cross-sectoral coordination, planning, and implementation on critical issues of food, water, and energy security. From my perspective, water is key to the following three initiatives or plans, which all of us are working on. The first one is Build Forward Better. It's mostly from the COVID context, but also from disaster and climate resilience perspective. Water is also critical more from the inclusion perspective, particularly the indigenous communities, women and youth. So that is leave no one behind. And the third and most important thing is water is very critical for promoting and strengthening gender equality. And in the transboundary context, water has multiple values, which is also the theme for this World Water Day. Most commonly, it is a contested natural resource if you look into what's happening in South Asia. Competing food, energy, and water demands among basin states, industries, and communities often lead to fierce competition and disagreement on shared waters. But when these competing sectors and corresponding stakeholders engage in continuous dialogues, openly share their values and interests, and exchange information, it helps build trust and lead to collaborative initiatives to address many of the underlying drivers of contestation over water and rivers. For example, in the Mahakali River Basin, where TROSA and partners are working, citizen science-led water quality data collection, analysis and advocacy has been supporting more evidence-informed dialogues on ways to address and improve water quality, discussion among communities across the border, and in the process, creating safe spaces for collaboration and learning. So from a transboundary perspective, water is very critical in not only triggering cooperation, but maintaining that cooperation across sectors which are beyond water. So I will stop there, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for a very comprehensive answer. And it's also interesting you mentioned the importance of citizen science. Good afternoon, Mr. Shah. We'd like to get to the community perspective from you. So can you tell us, sorry, Mr. Rehan, can you tell us what does water mean to you, both personally and for your community?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a happy Water Day. I'm from the mountains, snow-capped mountains. Around me, glaciers are here, and I think the mountain people, the water is life, and it's more precious than the diamond. We are fighting on war footing to get water, and water is the global village, and water flows from the mountains to the river without biasness. We depend, all the socio-economic activities of states, communities depend on water. And yes, life, the herbs, the shrubs, the transportation, the food, the fishery, and all the life symptoms which goes on depends on water. And I personally value water because I am on the base where snow-capped mountains and glaciers, which melts and flows over the river and went to the sea, and the urban community also enjoy the water. Personally, it is for the mountain community, it's also a hazard. We face a lot of problems. We face extreme acute temperature, but water, we value water. We have spring water, it's diamond. We love, we enjoy, and many people love to come to the mountain region. So I personally, and the community value water, and we see it's a life, and life it is more important than life, because it's the life is because of water. So I personally value water rather than life, and I enjoy the life and water. And we, the people of the mountain people living around across the world, are the base of the water. Where the ice melt, it grows to the river and went to the sea. So I suppose to say it's a precious mineral. It's a precious gift of God, and we will value it. Yes, the water in the mountains and the ice and the mountains are hazarding the people of the mountain people. So that's all, I think.
Thank you so much for that answer, Mr. Shaw. Yeah, you're right, the water is indeed very precious and can also be a hazard to us. I'd like to move on to Irena Guerin from Coca-Cola Nepal. And you're giving us a professional perspective. So can you tell us, Irena, what does water mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Thank you so much for the question, Dr. Jackson, and happy World Water Day to everyone. And thanks to ICIMOD and team for giving us this opportunity. So for me, water at a personal level, water is obviously very important for survival, and the first thing that comes to my mind as a shared natural resource. Water is finite and irreplaceable resource that is fundamental to human well-being as a whole. If there was no water, there would be no life on earth. It's as simple as that for me, and I guess it's a layman's statement that's understood by all. At a professional level, I work in an organization where water is the key ingredient in our products and essential to our operational processes, used in each step of production, including cleaning, heating, and cooling. So water is critical to our business, and therefore dependency on fresh, clean water will remain on the top of everything for us. We also recognize that availability and access to safe water for drinking and sanitation is essential to the communities where we operate and across the value chain that we work in. So as we continue to grow our business, the importance water actually raises for us, and the reliance on water keeps growing for us in the future. So protecting the quality and availability of water is fundamental to our business, and probably understanding the importance of water has been so critical for the company that in 2005, the Coca-Cola company actually pledged that it will lead its global beverage operations to focus its actions in some of the core areas, including reducing the water used to produce its beverages, recycling water used for beverages manufacturing processes, and in general replenishing water in communities and the nature. So I think this sums up how important water is to me and the company that I work with. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irena, for bringing that perspective. I'd like to move on now to Dr. Iqbal, joining us from Afghanistan. Hello, Dr. Iqbal. I hope you can hear us all right. Hello, nice to see you and welcome to World Water Day. I'd like to know, you were doing research for the government. What is water for government officials such as yourself?
Thank you very much, and happy World Water Day to everyone. As we all know, water is life, but as a government decision maker, to me, water is to find the best ways to use social, economic, and administrative systems in order to develop and manage our water resources and delivery of water services at different level for my society. To me, as a government official, innovation and adoption of range of management practices and governance structures to solve the water-related problems that my people face and to develop my society in ways that match their values come to my priorities. Uh, I have to try to develop water storages and irrigation systems that help to drive food production, water supply, and sewerage system to provide public health improvements and drainage system that mitigate flooding and also to cope with drought and climate change impacts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal, for a very informative answer. I'd like to move back to Dr. Katka now. And I'd like you to tell us something about what are the major water challenges faced by stakeholders at the different levels.
Thank you, Miriam. I think I'll save discussion from the 2 point of view. One is really the people, community, institution point of view, and another and service point of view. I see in my context, I mean, we work, IMI work for Nepal throughout other global context, other country also we work, but based on my long experience from Indus Himalayan region and Nepal, I can see that water challenges are around like how climate change is impacting. Water is the only entry point where we can see the changes in climate. And because of climate change, we can very much clearly see that there is a drying of mountain spring. One official document report shows that more than 84% of households who were asked, they experienced the changes in water sources, decrease in water sources. It means that ultimately mountain people are very much impacted by not having enough water for drinking, sanitation, health, and homestead irrigation. This is how that one challenge. And same way the water, because of too much water, I mean climate variability, water on the low level also is decreasing. It means that groundwater also cases, there are depletion of groundwater because of climate change, and other factors are there. It means that because of not having enough water for drinking and also sanitation and also small scale irrigation, those people who are most affected is ultimately smallholder farmer, women producer, poor farmer, tenant. So this challenge, because of not having enough water, people, those who have limited resources capacity are already in a difficult position, vulnerable position. This is one aspect. Another is because enough, we discussed earlier, that panels also pointed out, water use access need is different across the society. I mean, across society, among the people, between the people. So we can really see the challenge. Another challenge is not all people in our region do not have safe access to safe water for cleaning and also drinking and homestead, again, small scale irrigation. Our data, our research shows that Nepal, for example, because not having water for irrigation, it has implication in food production. Over the last, if we see 30 years data, agricultural production has been reduced, and GDP contribution from agriculture has been, it was in 1990 it was 50%. Now 2020, 73 years ago, I mean, the GDP has been reduced to 27%. It means that we claim as our country is, our livelihood is agriculture, agrarian, but we don't have much water, even basic water that help smallholder farmer, women, poor people to access water for agricultural production, that also help for their livelihood. This is the second point. Because of COVID has impacted people differently. Most vulnerable people, based on our IMI research and other stakeholder research, shows that women, people with a disability, sexual gender minority, other marginalized farmers have been the hardest hit. So very much challenge is there. So because of not having water, safe water, drinking water, and water for production, water for sanitation. So it is also increasing inequality within the society where we are working. So these are the 2 points I wanted to highlight. And also one of the area that data gap, because we work on globally on water, how much water we are using, how much water we have, who have been benefited, who have been losing. So this kind of data basically is needed, not enough. Water is very contextual, water understanding, water need assessment, and water resource management and conservation. But data, evidence, scientific evidence-based decision making, planning, policy process is a long way. This is also one of the area that I see one of the challenge, why water is not very much managed, used efficiently, sustainably, very much equitable way. Thank you,
Thank
Miriam.
you. Thank you, Dr. Katka. Yes, there are many challenges in addition to the usual ones. We also have climate change and COVID giving us additional challenges. I'd like to give a quick reminder to the people listening here, everyone attending the webinar. Please write your questions in the chat box if any of the panelists say something or you think they haven't mentioned something you want to know about. Write your question in the chat box that you would like to have addressed. Okay, I'd now like to move back to Raj, and you're working in transboundary water management. So what are the challenges in transboundary water management? And please remember to keep your answer to 2 minutes or less. Thank you.
Thanks, Miriam. From the transboundary water management context, the challenges are many, but let me try and focus on 4 challenges. The first one I would like to share is around focus and attitude. Existing water sharing and infrastructure development projects, such as those related to hydropower, it focuses mostly on a kind of approach which perpetuates a zero-sum game approach and perception among riparian states and communities. Who gets what, when, for how long kind of attitude fuels competition and in turn limits scopes for collaboration and cooperation. So that is around focus and attitude. The second one is more around approach. Traditionally, as we know, transboundary water issues and related water diplomacy has always been, in most of the cases in South Asia, state-driven, which are often referred to as track 1 diplomacy, which didn't promote engagement and participation of non-state actors like civil society, academia, and the private sector. So lack of participation and informed multi-stakeholder engagement is a key challenge. So that's the second challenge. The third one is related to data and information. My previous speakers, they already talked about data inadequacy, but the most important thing in the transboundary context is also data secrecy. Because of the mistrust and competition, this data on water quality, water river flow, and all these things, including climate related data, are often classified and securitized and not shared and easily available. And related to it, the most important thing is information disorder. And in the transboundary context, where misinformation and false narratives are often created and perpetuated in media to stifle cooperation and destabilize any kind of positive development. One example is the misinformation, which is often seen and circulated in the Indian media about the role of upstream Nepal and its dam operation, which caused flood in the downstream. So data secrecy and information disorder is another big challenge when working in transboundary context. The fourth one, which is very critical, is limited use of research and evidence in water diplomacy. We have seen most of the time political positions and economic interests, they drive largely the bilateral water discourse and diplomacy between 2 states, between 2 riparian states. And as there is no regional or intergovernmental body or river basin organization on water issues in South Asia, I think that remains a major challenge. So science and research evidence are often not used or marginalized. And I think that is one of the critical challenges when we're talking about strengthening cooperation among different sectors, different actors, and between countries on transboundary water issues. So these are the 4 challenges which I wanted to highlight. Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you, Raj. And certainly data is a problem, and Dr. Katka talked about data gaps, but also we have data sharing as well, which is a big problem, especially in the transboundary context. We're going to go back to the community perspective now from Mr. Shah. Mr. Shah has asked us to show a video while he's speaking. So, Mr. Shah, Mr. Rehan, Gilgit-Baltistan is known to be facing many challenges related to climate and water. Can you tell us something about the kinds of challenges in terms of both agriculture use and hazards that are faced by the Gulkin community? Thank you.
Thank you again. Yes, yes, of course. The GB, the Gilgit-Baltistan, where we live, the 8 mighty mountains, except Mount Everest, located in Gilgit-Baltistan. The second mighty, longest glacier, Batura, lays in Gilgit-Baltistan. Where I am sitting, all around my 3 side of my where I'm sitting is glacier. Yes. Let me talk about the 3 points which facing the community, the challenges facing by the community. After all, after global warming, the climate change, the immediate threat which we are facing here is the GLOF, the glacier outburst. Yes, a very heavy loss in this regard to the threat to the life, and then. Of course, the melting of the mighty glaciers, which flooding the area, which damages all our assets, including our channels, our land, or even it threats to our life as well. Yes, in Gilgit-Baltistan, we have all threats, all hazards, natural hazards. I mean, the heavy snowfall, the glacier outburst, the landslide, except the tsunami, we face all these hazards, and it's a natural disaster. But we have no way of alarming or research-oriented data. We don't have to protect ourselves, or even our livelihood or our asset. Yes, and then the conventional channel system, which cause damage due to the movement of the glaciers, outburst, flooding, snowfall. So we need an alternative. It's not for to avoid hazard, but also to conserve water. Yes, this is one of my colleagues talk about the spring, the drying of springs. We depend on the mountain community, depend on the spring water to drink. So we are here in a hazard because the spring water are dying. On my picture, on my behind, I see the trouble of the community, why they are fighting for the water. And then the natural disaster, which I talk about, we need an assessment, a proper data. How could we save our life? Good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rehan. And I know that the hazards from water is one of the most immediate concerns to you, and especially from glacier floods. Thank you. I'd like to move on back now to Irena. And can you tell us that, water has all these challenges, it's under extreme threat from a growing population, there's increased demands from agriculture and industry, and there's also climate change as well. How does all this affect you?
Thank you for the question. So it's obviously, like you said, it's known that water security is critical, especially with the changing climate patterns that we have observed over the few years. So for us as a company, Coca-Cola sells value-added water. So water availability is critical for the business. However, dependence on water goes much deeper into our products. So most of the other ingredients that we use in the company's products depend on agriculture. So I'll give you an example, such as sugarcane, because we obviously use sugar in our products. And agriculture is the biggest consumer of freshwater supplies, as all the experts here know. Therefore, any disruption in water availability can have serious implications for our business operation. And obviously for business continuity as well. So realizing the increasing pressure on water availability, and as I mentioned previously, the Coca-Cola company has actually now committed to go water neutral. And this was set back in 2005, this commitment, and by 2020, we are actually validating all our reports and the projects that we've done over the years to ensure that we're going water neutral. So what this means is that this means replenishing all the water used in the company's finished goods back to the local ecosystem and communities, which is done through various projects such as protecting projects that work on protect because what we have realized is that water is extremely important for us, and any chances of water not being available where we operate can actually have a huge impact on the business and the future plans for the business.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting to hear about the moves for Coca-Cola to go water neutral. Thank you. I'd like to get back to the government perspective now. Dr. Iqbal, what's the most important water-related challenges faced by government entities? And please try and keep your answer brief. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Exactly, in Afghanistan, security is the main challenge of water management. But apart from the security, we have worked on a research paper titled An Evaluationary Perspective on Water Governance in Afghanistan from Understanding to Transformation. In this research, we used 60 documents, reviews, expert interviews, and group discussion. And our purpose was to find water governance related challenges in Afghanistan. We found 9 main challenges in Afghanistan that prevent the water management properly in Afghanistan. The first challenge is lack of proper implementation of integrated water resource management policies and strategies in Afghanistan. The second one is lack of proper implementation of cooperation mechanism for the management of water resources across water-related users and levels of government from local to basin, regional, national, and upper scales. The third one is lack of proper implementation of cross-sectoral policies and strategies, promoting policy coherence between water and key related areas. In particular, environment, health, energy, agriculture, land use, and spatial planning. The fourth one is lack of proper implementation of mechanism to review barriers to policy coherence. The fifth one is lack of existence and functioning of mechanism to identify and address capacity gaps in water institutions. Number 6, lack of functioning of updated, timely, shared, consistent, and comparable water information system. 7, lack of implementation of policy framework and incentives fostering innovation in water management practices and processes. Number 8, lack of functioning of institutions encouraging bottom-up initiatives. And the 9, lack of implementation of legal framework to engage stakeholders in design and implementation of water-related decision, policies, and projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listing all those challenges, Dr. Iqbal. It was very interesting. We're running out of time now, so I'd like the final round to be quite brief. Dr. Katka, I'd like to come back to you again. And I'd like to know about practical solutions you think could help face these challenges from the practitioner's perspective. If you just give me 1 or 2 sentences of what you think is the most important or the easiest practical solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miriam. I think first solution is that intervention side of it. Both public and private sectors should focus on scaling water technology that are very much cost effective, sustainable, and people centric. For example, we are doing a lot of experiment, multiple use water system. It's really for the irrigation, drinking, sanitation, everything. No, but this scaling of small scale technology, irrigation, water resource use technology has not been a priority of the government policy and intervention. So first is that. Second is that any water technology has to link, especially in irrigation technology, small scale irrigation technology has to focus on people who really need a source of water, like smallholder farmer, women, poor people, and tenant farmer who rely on agriculture as their main source of livelihood and economic opportunity. So we have to really keep an eye looking at equity and inclusion dimension. Third, water adaptation, any adaptation plan, because we are doing a bit of sectoral silo, water has to be entry point for local adaptation planning processes within the community, so that community people understand, for example, early warning system, community-based early warning system has been very much needed. We have to anchor this kind of tool and technique in the local adaptation plan while we focus on multiple use water technology for drinking, sanitation, and agricultural production. So fourth point is that decision support system, because as I said, there is an information gap, there is knowledge gap, but through the research, through the evidence, we really support policymaker and practitioner to make decision based on decision support system. So understanding hydrological, and it has a implication on people and governance. It has to pact and help them in a capacity building of integrated water resource management for a multiple benefit. Very short, yes, there are things.
Thank you so much, Dr. Katka. Raj, we'd like to hear about the transparency perspective again. What do you think is the most important effort that's being made to strengthen transparency water cooperation in the region? And if you could give your answer brief, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Miriam. So, in terms of the one of the questions that was posed in the chat box, how do we address the data and information gap? So, I will try and highlight 3 points. The first one is about trust. When we say using data and information, one of the important thing is building trust through more collaborative research and evidence building, involving different institutions from the basin countries, think tanks, and research bodies. And I think research has a key role to play in bridging the data gap. For one example, I can cite in the Meghna Basin where we are working, our partners, IUCN and CUT International has been engaged in India, Bangladesh joint research on the land use land cover map atlas of the Meghna Basin. Similar example we had with ICIMOD, which is the DROSA Himalayan University Consortium, which facilitated such kind of multidisciplinary research among different institutions and researchers in the basin countries. The second one with regard to information gap and knowledge gap is with regard to translation. And I think this is very important from the perspective of transboundary water resources management, but there is already the available scientific research and the body of research evidence available is often not available in the form and format which can be easily understood and used by policymakers, practitioners, and civil society organizations who are working on the ground in terms of mobilizing more dialogues and actions. And one of the examples from TROSA is through the Mahakali dialogues, we have been trying to facilitate such translation by making the scientific evidence available to communities and to different stakeholders. So translation is also very important. The third critical element with regard to the use of evidence and science in water governance, particularly from transboundary perspective, is around strengthening the science advisory system. And I think this is something very preliminary in the GBM context. This is from our experience in terms of how do you ensure the kind of people trained and with the right kind of capacity in different ministries, particularly the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who are skilled in terms of not only engaging with the scientific and the research institutes, but they are in a position to provide the timely information, the timely scientific input required by different negotiators and other officials who are going to engage in hydrodiplomacy or water negotiation. So strengthening science advisory systems in various countries And regional institutions like ICIMOD, in my opinion, can play a big role in building that kind of science advisory systems and supporting the timely use of information and evidence in decision making. So I will stop there, Miriam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raj. We have a question addressed to Mr. Rehan, and this is concerning the mechanism that you have in Gilgit-Baltistan for monitoring glaciers. So for looking at the potential impact on the spring water and for mitigating the hazards related to it. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please? Okay. Okay, it was a question from chat, but we'll move back to the question that we have already. Can you tell us how you and your community are coping with the challenges? Can you give us the most important way that you're responding to the challenges you're facing? Thank you.
Yes. What I was talking about the challenges, yes, with the community of Gulkin, it is a population of a very minimum population of 1,600, more than 1,600 people living in a village, where the village organization is a community-based organization working to cope with these challenges. Yes. What I'm talking about the channel, we are initiating a public-centric initiatives here in Gulkit, transforming from conventional strategies or pattern to a modern technique. Yes, we have a old conventional channel system to irrigate our population or land or a field. We transformed in 1972. You expect we built a water channel from the glacier to cultivate our land, but it could not manage. And then we, in 1984, we copied a new technique of GI pipe. That's a metal pipe of 10 inches dia, but it could not be managed to repair or to manage to it could not be managed to give water to our land. And then in 2000, another attempt we made, but it could not be managed. Yes, after all, the ICIMOD have given a new technique of transforming things. So we transform what you see in the pictures. We use alternative to the water channel, HD pipe, which is very easy to move. It would across the mountains or even the glacier. So we are going to alternatives to a conventional water channel system to HDP pipe, and we yes, we could manage to bring water, and then yes, water conservation. It's a very important because we are wasting water. So now we are initiating with the consultation, with the advice of the ICIMOD, we were working on a sparkling or even drip irrigation. We are launching water to a reservoir, a small reservoir, and distribute it to a wide range of land where we were watering them through drip irrigation or sparkling. And then the early warning system we deployed at the mountains, the glaciers, to avoid further risk. For this, to avoid hazard, we have volunteers, male, female volunteers. We trained them with the help of the AKDN and other relative institution. So we are working on alternative, and we want to look for a good partners to work with, whom will help us for a modern technique to so we can manage to work with them to facilitate our border community. Yeah.
Mr. Rehan, thank you very much, and thank you for telling us about the very practical ways you've responded, you and the community have responded to these challenges. I'd like to go further now to Irena, and your comment about water neutrality has stirred a lot of interest. Can you tell us something about that, how it can be measured and how different actors can help in this regard? And again, please try and keep your answer brief. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you for the question. This one topic we always get very excited about, and the more we get to talk about it, the happier we are. In Nepal, what we've done is through an integrated water resource management approach, the projects we are involved in promote wise use and management of water during production for households and agriculture, while replenishing water that are done through interventions such as rainwater harvesting in urban areas, and also spring source conservation and of rivers and ponds. So if I was to be more specific, in Nepal, we're involved in two different types of replenish projects. So one is the urban recharge that we are working on, and the other one is the natural water conservation projects that we focus on. So under urban recharge, we have been working with partners like Water Aid Nepal and Smart Pani to install rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge systems in several public locations of Kathmandu. Our purpose for this kind of project is to support in mitigating the nation's challenge in terms of water availability in urban areas, and also urban flooding in the capital. Till now, we have installed 7 rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge systems in 7 different public institutions across the capital. Another is natural water conservation, as I mentioned earlier, where with the help of WWF Nepal, we have worked on restoring and maintaining natural water resources in order to increase water security for local people and improve water-related kind of ecosystem. So till now, we have worked in 3 big projects in Nepal, such as restoring Bisazari Lake and Tiger Lake. And a few years back, actually before my time in the company, there was a project at Pushi River Basin as well. So I actually see that there's a part there in the question where it talks about support from development and research sectors. That obviously is very, very critical for the private sector to achieve the sustainability goals, and that the private sector actually makes efforts to support on. And in terms of the support that we've got so far, our sustainability partners ensure all the technical parameters are met, and they actually support through their expertise with innovative water management solutions, and also help in aligning the local government every time we do these projects as well. So also in terms of the calculation of these projects, or how do we measure water neutrality, what we do is once our projects are complete, we actually get a third party to verify the projects for us, so that we are fully transparent about it. So once it is verified and assured by a third party, that's when we kind of water neutrality numbers that we have in hand. So it's a whole process that we go through to verify water neutrality.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation, Irena. Okay, I'd like to move now to our final panelist and our final question. And we're running out of time, but Dr. Iqbal, can you tell us what is the most important way that the government can contribute to facing the challenges in Afghanistan regarding water? Thank you.
From the government perspective, in Afghanistan, we have to try to properly focus on implementation, development, and functioning of water governance principles and indicators. I already mentioned the challenges. For these challenges, our research recommends that the government of Afghanistan should consider these 10 water governance principles in order to solve many water-related problems and bring about better water management in the country. But we have to pay attention that we should not only consider the implementation, but also we have to focus on proper functioning of these principles. First, roles and responsibilities. Second, appropriate skills within basin system. Third one, policy coherence. Fourth, capacity development. data and information management, regulatory framework, innovative governance, integrity and transparency, stakeholder engagement, monitoring and evaluation. We have to pay attention that each of these principle has three indicators, that the indicators have to be considered properly while implementing and functioning. We also have to pay attention that these principles should be implemented in a systematic and inclusive manner. As such, they do not make distinction across water management functions like drinking water supply, sanitation, flood operation, water uses like domestic, industry, and ownership of water management resources and assets like public, private, and mixed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Iqbal, and thank you to you and the rest of our panelists for joining us today. Thank you for some very interesting comments and discussions. We're out of time now, but I see that there's quite a lively discussion in the chat box. So I encourage you to keep going with the discussion in the chat box. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Miriam. To appreciate all the rich contributions by the panelists, let's give a round of applause. Of course, yes, the questions, maybe panelists can also answer them by writing on the chat box. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item in our program today. We have a multimedia show. We had asked people to reflect on what water means to them. And then based on that, we have prepared a short video. So I'm inviting my colleague, Ms. Jimmy Sheldon, who is Knowledge Management and Communication Officer at ICIMOD, to walk us through this and also to show the video. Jimmy?
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Also, happy World Water Day. Thank you so much, Arunji. You're muted. Sorry. Thank you. Happy World Water Day, and thank you so much, Arunji. So what we did a few weeks ago, as we prepare for this very important day, we also ran a social media campaign asking our friends in the region and across the world to, share their story about what does water mean to them. And we received several interesting responses, which actually collectively points out the need for us to actually take more care of our water resources and water as well. So we are very excited to share this video. So without any delay, I will just go ahead and share the video. Thank you so much for everyone who has responded through our social media. And once again, happy World Water Day to everyone of you here. So back to you, Irena.
Thank you, Jimmy, for putting that interesting video together. It's really interesting to see what people say about water. And definitely it is clear water is almost like life. It's most valuable thing in the world. Thank you so much. And now moving on, we are coming to a very interesting stage. It is launch and demonstration of Indus knowledge and partnership platform. So to take us through this, I'm requesting my colleague Ms. Sharmila Tungana, who is Knowledge Management and Communication Associate, to go through this launch program. Sharmila, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Arunji. Please give me a second to arrange. Good afternoon, all. My name is Sharmila, and I support the Indus Basin Initiative as a Knowledge Management and Communications Associate. And in this brief session, it is my honor to take you through the process of launching the Indus Knowledge Partnership Platform, IKPP in short, and also to be sharing more about the platform. In the next 10 minutes, I will be sharing a little about the vision and objectives of the platform. We'll be inviting Mr. Basanta Raj Shrestha, Director of Strategic Cooperation here at ICIMOD, to do the honor of launching the platform, and we'll also be going over some of the key features of the platform. To share briefly about the platform, IKPP is an effort to consolidate existing knowledge about climate issues in the basin and also to facilitate knowledge sharing among researchers and institutions in the basin. We hope that the evidence-based knowledge in the platform will feed into climate-friendly policymaking in the Indus Basin. Before inviting Basanta ji for the launch, I would like to share that bringing this platform to life would not have been possible without the dedication and support from various teams at ICIMOD. And for that, I would like to express my gratitude towards the River Basins at Crash here, or the RBC team, the Indus Basin Initiative team, the Knowledge Management and Communications team, the Geospatial Solutions team, the Water and Air team, and also the MENRIS team, or the Mountain Environment Regional Information System team, for all the coordinated, consolidated efforts in putting this platform together. A special thanks also to our Regional Program Manager, Dr. Arun Shrestha, for his valuable support and guidance in bringing all the teams together in this vision of building the platform. Moving on without any further delay, I would like to call on the podium Basanta ji to do the honor of launching the platform and kindly share a few words.
Yeah, sure, certainly. Thank you, dear colleagues and participants. Perhaps some good morning, good afternoon, and maybe some good evening. Once again, let me also add Happy World Water Day 2021. And it is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to launch this platform called Indus Knowledge Partnership Platform. I believe this is a regional collaborative effort to mutually share, learn, and also address some of the key challenges faced by the community of Indus Basin. Within the context of science policy practice today we have talked about, I believe this platform is a collective effort in terms of creating, through existing knowledge and network, to address some of the impending challenges that we hear from many of the audiences today. And I believe this platform has a couple of very significant in terms of taking it forward. As I was listening to a deliberation, I think this platform is a very important milestone, also from ICIMOD point of view, in advancing knowledge, advancing perhaps the intricate linkages within the Indus Basin, enhancing our common understanding in terms of upstream and downstream linkages, where I think that today's theme in terms of water use has a very relevant connotation. Also, I think this platform will be very, very important in the context of climate change impacts and how we really deal and tackle the climate change impact. Nonetheless, I also think that this platform also very, very important from the perspective of DRR, disaster risk reduction lens, in terms of reducing this, in terms of preparedness. Now, secondly, I think many of you have talked about in terms of data and information sharing. This platform also will be a very, very important in terms of promoting data and information sharing at a very local level, national level, and also the regional level. And so that it can support assessment, it can support analysis, scientific analysis, and provide insights into some of the key challenges. Third, I think in terms of this platform, I think the kind of the data information, it would support scientific research, it would support in terms of enhancing capacity, and more so learning kind of a network among the various community of practice within the Indus Basin context. Last but not least, I think this platform also is very, very important from the regional platform point of view. I was listening carefully to the deliberation, the panel discussion today, the perspective of a government, perspective of communities, perspective of the research organization, and also the international organization. And I think this platform is a common platform to bring these diverse stakeholders to co-design, to co-develop some of the challenges that we face within the context of Indus Basin. And I see this will have a true value as I was listening from Mehan, from the community. Rehan Sahab. I think if this platform can be, helpful in terms of addressing some of the challenges of the community. And also there are a lot of business, government at the varieties of different levels. So I think, again, I take immense pleasure and joy in terms of launching this portal and perhaps the significant milestone in terms of bringing together Indus Basin different community of practice and stakeholders. Once again, happy World Water Day 2021. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vasantaji, for launching the platform and also shedding light to how this platform could be relevant to a diverse set of stakeholders in addressing challenges related to climate change in the Indus Basin. Now, I would like to go over some of the key components of the platform. And for that, I would like to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. While I do this, if I could please request my colleague Chimi to also share the link in the chat box so that we can all go through it. Thank you. So as we go through the platform, we start with the vision and objectives of the platform and what it aims to achieve, and also some guidelines on how to use the platform. Moving further, one of the key components of the platform is the data portal, where the user could browse a wide range of data sets ranging from physiography, climate, hydrology, snow and glacier cover, and renewable energy potential in the Indus Basin. As we don't have the time right now to go through each of the specific data sets, I would like to request my colleague Vikram Shakir to kindly share the link in the chat box, and Vikramji has been helping us put this together. So thank you, Vikramji. Moving further, we also have a wide range of publications in areas related to climate, cryosphere, hydrology, water resource management, hazards and risks, and climate change adaptation in the Indus Basin. Moving further, one of our key features in the platform is also that users would have the opportunity to reach out to experts with a similar field of interest and seek guidance on their research queries. We have begun the process of reaching out to different experts, and we will be populating this pool shortly. So the platform really encourages young professionals to network and connect with these mentors from relevant research areas. Moving further, users would also have the opportunity to join the Indus Basin discussion forum and receive regular updates on resources and opportunities related to the Indus Basin. Lastly, the platform also seeks to invite diverse contributions to add to the knowledge base. The contributions could range from research publications, audiovisuals, to any other knowledge products that could help us learn more about the Indus Basin. The platform is rooted in its partnership approach, and we are looking to collaborate on knowledge synthesis and sharing, and also in discussing further ideas for the platform and its outreach to relevant stakeholders. We also look forward to working with more experts who could provide tailored support for students, researchers, and early career professionals in the related areas of research. We encourage you to kindly contribute to the platform, share relevant resources, and write to us at indus@icimod.org to learn more about the platform, or if you have any queries, and share the platform among your networks. With this, we come to the end of the session. Thank you all, and thank you again, Vasantiji, for helping us launch the platform. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Sharmila, and thank you, Basantji, for launching this. We are getting very close to the end of this program. We have one more item before the summary and wrap up. We have, through social media, collected your opinion on what water means to you. This is yet another effort to do that, but now we want to do it now online, right? And for this, I invite again my colleague Chimi to the floor. Chimi?
Thank you, Aranji. I'm back here again, and as Aranji has already pointed out, we will be asking all the panelists and all the experts and participant attendants here to share your what does water means to you, your perspective, and I will share my screen. So on the screen, if you can hold on. So yeah. So there are two options to do this. If you're using your mobile phone, you can scan over the QR code, which will take you directly to our survey page. And on the There you can put in not less than 3, either in words or phrases. What does water mean to you? Or if you're using your laptop, you can go to slido.com and it will ask you to enter the code. The code here is value water. And when you enter that, you will it will give you options on the below the bar where it says World Water Day 2021. You can click on that, and that will take you to the page where you can put in your response. So we will shortly share what we received from the attendees here. So the question is already on the screen, and we have the QR code and the web address on the left side of your screen. So do join in and feel free to share some in phrases and some in words, not less than 3. And do let us know in the chat box if you're facing any problems. So we are already, we have about more than 7 responses. And the life still continues to be one of the important, I think that's how they see water. We have 8 responses, so please join in and share what you see water as. Well, we have already 17 respondents, but I think we have more than 90 participants attending for this webinar. So let's aim for at least 30 responses. I think some of the participants they would like to know the value. The code that you can enter in the question, it should be value water, hashtag value water, but when you go to the page, you don't have to enter hashtag, you can directly type in value water as one word and enter that. Then it will take you to the page, survey page. And that option is for the laptop. If you're using your phone, you can use the QR code, which is on the top left of the screen, and that will directly take you to the survey page. Yeah, we are almost there. We are 28 now, just 2. And I think we at least have 30 responses already. Should we stop or wait a little bit?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Please keep on sending us the responses. We will be sharing both the video that we had shared earlier and also these responses on our social media. So please keep on sharing your responses as well. And thank you so much. It's back to you, Irena.
Thank you, Jimmy, for this very interesting input from our participants. And I think we should take this further and share later on with the participants, maybe through social media. Right, so we have covered all the items in our agenda today. Thank you for being here with us. This was a very rich discussion from the panel as well as inputs through the multimedia show and the launch. To capture this, I think it will not be easy, but my colleague, Dr. Randall Ritchema, has agreed to put it together and also provide the highlight of today's meeting, today's discussion. So for that, I would like to request Dr. Ritchema.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Dr. Arun, and thank you all for such a rich discussion. The theme for World Water Day 2021 is valuing water, and this webinar was an attempt to get at that theme by asking the question, what does water mean to me? We've heard so many answers, and I think one of the most striking things about today is just the variety of answers to that question, what does water mean to me? From personal reflections, to industry reflections, to agricultural reflections, to governmental and transboundary reflections. The enormity of the variety of the answers is just speaks to the what we saw, I think, very poignantly there in that participatory survey. And right in the center is the word life. Life is what we think about when we think about water. And paired with that, the fact that water is life, is that it can also be death. It can bring everything that supports human and natural processes, but it can, too large a quantity, or perhaps when it's highly polluted, it can also bring death and it can bring destruction. So water is this dichotomy. That we saw that coming through, I think, from nearly every dimension. But I think it's good to also step back and ask, why is it important to ask the question, what does water mean to me? And I think it came through also in the panelists' reflections, as well as the participants in the chat box and in the survey. And I think it's an important question to ask, because as humans, we tend to take things for granted. We're used to when things are normal and in the status quo, we tend to assign very little value to things. It could be water, it could be even relationships. When things are just moving along as normal, we take them for granted. And it really requires a change from the normal to highlight the importance of things in our lives, and water is no exception. I think for all the panelists, as they reflected on the questions, they had to really think about two different things. They had to think about perhaps that change from the normal is highlighted by a crisis that they're in, and I saw that also in the responses that showed, well, our water tanks are frozen. We know the value of every drop of water. In crisis, whether it's too much water or too little water, we truly, I think, understand more the value of water. But in the absence of a crisis, a second way we can get at that change from the normal to help us understand the value of water is through our imagination. And considering what it would be like if water wasn't available. And it's in thinking either in crisis or using our imagination or doing a thought experiment to get at that change from the normal. That's when the value of water really arises for us. And I saw that in just every response today. And that's why I think days like today and a webinar event like this can be so important, is because we protect ultimately what we value. And so we need to, in order to protect what's valuable, take time and take stock to look at what's really valuable for us. And that's what World Water Day can do. And that's what this webinar can do as well. And I think when we're talking about change from the normal to help us value water, it's especially poignant at this time, and I've also heard many responses about this from the panelists and the participants, is that we're facing a very large scale change from the normal to this idea of climate change, which in the past was in the realm of our imagination. We started to see or consider that we might be facing issues with water in the future, but that the imagination we needed to use previously is now evolving into the real. It's evolving into that crisis that helps us understand how important water is. It's moving into the tangible when we look at drying springs across the Hindu-Kush Himalayan region, when we look at receding glaciers and the threats to future water supply. That helps us to value water. When we look at catastrophes that happen, coming through from our colleague in Afghanistan and from Pakistan as well. Certainly here in Nepal and in India, gloughs or avalanches, crisis, floods, etc., helps us understand the real value of water. So I hope that begins to pull together the many, many strands and the dimensions of valuing water today. And so from all of us here at ICIMOD, we'd like to thank our panelists for taking the time to reflect on our questions that we posed to you. And we'd like to thank our participants for joining us and for your contributions and for your participation. And thank you for taking time together with us to take that pause that we need to reflect, either in crisis or through our imagination, on the importance that water has for us for life, and conversely, in the power that it has to destroy as well on this World Water Day 2021. So with that, I'd like to just say that our program today is concluded. And thank you all for joining us and for the very rich discussion. There's many things to take forward, and I hope that many of us were inspired afresh by what we heard from our colleagues both here and scattered around the world today. So thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Randall. Great summary. And yeah, that brings us to the end of the program. I would also like to thank all the ICIMOD colleagues for putting together this program. Thank you. And of course, yes, let's all work together in valuing water. Thank you.